Hi, I'm Kirsty Nelson. I'm a marriage and family therapist and long distance running coach. Today, I'm going to be talking with you about mindful running, what it is, how to do it, and some things that go along with it. To get started, let me pull up my PowerPoint. All right, mindful running, what it is, how to practice, and the benefits. So, what is mindful running? To me, it is about having that mind body connection, that present moment awareness. And if you're also running outside, then it's also about having that nature connection through movement. Someone who I think is an expert on this, Mackenzie Havey, she wrote the book called Mindful Running. And her definition is regardless of where you're at in your running practice, the mindful running process is the same. We focus in on the body, mind, and surroundings and begin to notice what thoughts, feelings, and sensations exist in that moment. We fathom that information. We consider how it all fits together from a holistic standpoint, and we decide if we need to make adjustments. It's about tuning in and fine tuning. And when we follow these steps, we enter flow, a state that embodies present moment awareness, concentration, confidence, optimal performance, and joy. Another person that I think is an expert on mindful running is Dina Castor. And if you hadn't read her memoir, Let Your Mind Run, I highly recommend it. I wanted to highlight a few quotes from her book that I really like that demonstrate some of the aspects of mindful running. She says, I learned that some days it took scenery, music, or musings about dinner to get through a workout. Other days I needed to think myself through the tough parts. Only one more mile. You've got this. Turning my attention inward to my breathing, stride, or arms worked in other situations. My job was simply to uncover the tool necessary for the moment. Often I found it on the first or second attempt. Sometimes it took several tries, but each time a shift in perspective got me through the crux of a workout and built more endurance, more speed, and greater confidence. This particular quote I really like because it highlights that not every tool is going to use in every circumstance. If we have a mindful practice, then we can rely on quite a few tools that go along with that mindful practice, and we can find the thing that works in that moment. So whether it's turning our attention inward and focusing on our breath, whether it's focusing on how I'm moving my arms, whether it's me focusing on a particular thought, whatever it is that's going to get you through that moment on that particular day, tuning into it and using it rather than not having it in your awareness. The next quote, I would be running and I'm so slow today might come to mind, but as a fact, not a judgment. So let's read that again. I would be running and I'm so slow today might come to mind, but as a fact, not a judgment. See that subtlety? When we turn to mindfulness, we start to see our thoughts from a new perspective. We start to have like the outsider's perspective, where we don't have to take them on and find meaning in them other than what is objective. So I'm so slow today came to mind, but as a fact, because it's a fact, she's able to say, I spent a little time considering how I could rest better to prepare for tomorrow's workout. The next one, the mountains had filled me with inspiration and distraction. Now, as I ran, I imagined them filling me with their strength and beauty, and I offered my gratitude back. With these small acknowledgments, I felt closer to the world around me. So another part of mindful running, especially if you're running outside, is that you can be filled with awe and gratitude, and you're just put in the position without even having to think about it to experience that awe and gratitude. And that is really a practice of gratitude leads to a lot more happiness in your life, a lot more contentment in your life, and a feeling of relaxation that is hard to achieve otherwise. Every day I got out there so I could apply the mental habits of life more readily. Staying composed in an anxious pack let me keep my wits in LA traffic. I could handle a broken foot in the Olympics and a broken yoke in the skillet. Patience in a long run gave me patience when Piper's flute playing got a bit loud. Seeing all the lessons along the way added to my motivation. I had learned disappointment was rooted in the desire to improve, and that under the grief there was deep love. Resiliency opens doors, and compassion and gratitude can dissolve tension and enrich any moment. And I think this is the ultimate like win when it comes to mindful running, is that we can apply the same habits in our mindful running to our life. We can live more mindfully throughout everything. We start to be more resilient because we recognize that when we practice patience in a long run, that translates to how we practice patience in our life. It helps us manage difficult situations and express compassion, gratitude, and kindness towards ourselves and to others. So the benefits of mindful running. Um, I am particularly attuned to the mental health benefits of mindful running, and it's really what got me interested in mindful running to begin with. So, running, if you have ever run before or if you're thinking about it, you may notice that when you're able to run, you're able to manage your ebbs and flows more easily. Your mood becomes more stable. There's a saying that one run may change your day, many runs will change your life. And that's really true. If you have an actual run practice, it stabilizes your mood in the long run. One day it might be the difference between a good day and a bad day. But if you want long-term stability, it's one of those regulating factors. Exercise is one of those regulating factors like sleep and nutrition. And then you're practicing an active mindfulness practice. We know that practicing mindfulness and meditation is a way to achieve peace, serenity, and increase more happiness, to be less reactive as a person. These things are well studied. And running also gives you an opportunity for socializing that you might not have otherwise. Of course, right now we have the pandemic going on, and so that may be limited. And mindful running solo is actually a really wonderful practice. But you can also have a mindful running practice where you are socializing and getting your social needs met. And that's really great for your mental health. Running also helps manage your anxiety because when you run, if you have a practice of it, you have a reduced amount of stress hormones in your system. When you first begin a run, your cortisol levels actually go up, which is a stress hormone. And that's because your body is getting in motion and it's getting prepared for that movement. But as the run is sustained, and then the benefits that continue on past the time the run is finished, you have a reduction in those stress hormones. You also have an increase in neurotransmitters. So you have more dopamine, more serotonin, more norepinephrine, and more receptors that are open to accepting those neurotransmitters floating around in your brain. And these are the mood stabilizing factors, brain chemicals that sustain reduced anxiety, reduced depression, and help you manage stress and promote a sense of well-being. Stress is an interesting one because you can go for one run when you've had a really bad day and get that cathartic release. You can go for one run and contemplate whatever it is that's going on in your mind, maybe a particular thought, and get some release. You might have had a really exciting day and you can go run and get some of that exciting energy out in a celebratory manner. So there's positive stress, there's negative stress, and our running can help with that energy, can grasp that energy and help you handle it in a really productive way. And of course, managing depression, which I've already touched on with the mental health and the neurotransmitter. But if you have a running practice, and especially a mindful running practice where you are tuning into your inner senses, your inner experience, and connecting with the nature around you, you stabilize your mood. Because you have an increase in serotonin, because you have an increase in dopamine and norepinephrine and BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which you can think of as being miracle grow for the brain. And running actually changes our brain activity. Your hippocampus, your amygdala, and your prefrontal cortex are all engaged when you run. And in fact, we have science has revealed that our hippocampus can actually grow. We used to think that our brains were done growing after adulthood. But we have found that when you exercise, and running in particular is good because you're getting to a certain level of exercise where you're really engaging all of your systems, your hippocampus can grow. And that's really cool. And that all helps in managing depression. You have increase in concentration. That's because of the norepinephrine that's going on and these changes in your brain. Increase motivation. The more you run, the more you want to. And we get satisfaction from doing things that are hard. Our reward centers that are built in our brain and our bodies are turned on, and it makes you want to do more. You have more creativity because your brain is thinking differently. It's almost like a dream state, where when you're on a run, sometimes you have like really great thoughts. You have a new perspective. And then you can go home and apply that in really cool ways. You might start an art practice after a run, or a journaling practice, which I'll talk about a little bit more later. I think of mindful running as the ultimate self-care practice. It is my me time, and it puts me into that relaxed state of awareness that I'm always striving for. You know, I always am interacting more positively with my family, with my children, with my friends, with my colleagues, with my clients, when I am able to achieve that relaxed state of awareness where my brain is turned on, but my body is calm. And that's what running does for you. Total body health. So, of course, we've been talking a lot about, what are the brain benefits, but you also have a lot of benefits, right? You have better heart health, you have better physical health, you have stronger muscles, you have more stamina, you have stronger bones, your whole body benefits. And as they say, work hard, sleep harder. So people who have an active running practice tend to get better sleep. So how do we get started? So if you have never ran before, or if you've taken a long time off and you're starting new again, you can begin with a run walk method, which actually, let's just go to the next screen. So this is an example of some training plans that could get you started. So you might start with just like a 15 to 20 minute segment that you're committing to 3 or 4 times a week. And you're going to do like, perhaps it's 2 minutes of walking to 2 minutes of jogging, and you repeat that 5 times. Maybe it's 3 minutes of walking to 2 minutes of running. You're going to play around with what feels comfortable to you, but you're just going to be repeating it. And then as the weeks go by, you reduce how much you're walking and increasing how much you're jogging, until finally you can do 20 minutes of continuous jogging. And eventually that turns into 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles. If you don't want to get caught up on miles, you can always run by minutes, which I think is a nice way of relaxing the pressure that you put on yourself. So how do you increase your mileage safely? So there is what we call the 10% rule. And I would say if you're running under 10 miles total for a week, you don't really have to worry about increasing your mileage in a safe way, because that's considered safe for the majority of the population. But once you get past 10 miles in a week, then you have to start thinking about how many miles can I increase my mileage the next week? And the rule is that however many miles total you ran in the previous week, you can increase by 10% for the total mileage the following week. So for example, let's say you ran 10 miles one week. The next week, you could run 11 miles total. And you can divide that increase in the mile, you can divide it out between your runs however you want, or you can just add it to your long run at the end of the week. And that's considered safe. The other thing about increasing your mileage safely is that you want to be doing other types of exercise too. So you might want to include a strength training routine. You might want to include yoga. Having increased strength that balances out your muscles throughout the body reduces injury, and keeping up with flexibility and mobility through yoga and other stretching routines keeps you agile. So those are other things you want to consider when increasing your mileage safely. Rhythmic breathing, this is another thing that helps you get started. So you want to focus on having a rhythmic breath, which I'll go over in just a minute, because it regulates your cardio system and your nervous system. It helps you stay calm, and it helps you have longevity. So I'll go over that in just a minute. And then tune inward. So this is really these two things really get at the mindfulness piece of it. You can focus on your breath, and you can focus on your inner experience. You can focus on your 5 senses. You can set an intention. What do you want to get out of this run? And you can include meditations. So to turn to the breathing patterns. So Really, you can think of your breathing as an anchor. Just like in a sitting meditation, your breath can be your anchor. In a running meditation, or just in running in general, your breath is your anchor. And you can tie your breath to your cadence, or you can just do it by count. If you, and to me, they're kind of the same thing, but sometimes when you're learning how to do it, it's easier to count it, or to count your steps. So I recommend, and you'll play around with this to see what works best for you, but I recommend putting an emphasis on the exhale, because when you're starting out to run, and you haven't been doing it for a long time, or you're new to it, you have a tendency to inhale really forcefully. So if you put the emphasis on the exhale, then you don't get over oxygenated. And also, we know in meditation practices, if you have an emphasis on the exhale, then you are helping your nervous system relax effectively. So that's an added benefit. So I'm going to demonstrate. You can do this. You can actually practice this with me right now. I would recommend practicing the breathing pattern when you're sitting, when you're walking, and then when you're running. And then after a while, it just becomes routine. You don't even have to think about it anymore. You just do it. So if you look down at the bottom here, you see the inhale where it has the 2 feet, and then it says exhale and it has 3 feet. Think of this as your cadence, your footfall. So we're going to inhale for 2 counts, or 2 steps. And then we're going to exhale for 3 counts. And I like to push out my bottom lip so that I'm really forcing out that air. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. And for sitting, that might feel kind of fast, but when you're running, that's about how fast it's going to be, because that's about how fast your feet are moving. So anytime you can turn your awareness to your breath or to your cadence, and that alone is going to give you a lot of benefits as a mindful runner. You can also add in different types of meditation. So I will start with explaining what a mantra is. If you are new to running, a mantra can be really beneficial in getting you out there and giving you the extra motivation you need. If you have been a long-time runner and this is not new to you, a mantra can just be one of those things that you use anytime you need a little extra motivation, or anytime you're trying to find your flow, or let's say you're in a race and you're really wanting to enhance your experience so that you do your very best. You might use a mantra. So all a mantra is an affirmation or a motivational statement that has some amount of rhythm to it that you can either match to your breath or your cadence. Or even if it doesn't match to your breath or cadence, that doesn't really matter as long as it speaks to you. So a mantra can really be anything. These are just examples I've come up with. This is definitely not a complete list. But you might say, 1 foot in front of the other. Just keep running. 1 foot in front of the other. I got this. 1 foot in front of the other. And it's going to give you that motivation. And this becomes the primary thought that you're expressing that gives you that motivation and that endurance. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. This is what growth feels like. A lot of people have a hard time getting over the initial hump of running because it feels uncomfortable until you've reached a certain level of, of ability to go for longer than, say, 10 minutes. It just feels uncomfortable. And every time you start running until your body is warmed up, it feels a bit uncomfortable. And that's just because your body is going from a state of rest to a state of action. And there's some discomfort involved in that. But if you feel any pain, definitely stop. But don't stop if it's just discomfort. This is what growth feels like. Remind yourself with the mantra, this is what growth feels like. I'm having a hard time getting into it today, but this is what growth feels like. This is what growth feels like. This is what growth feels like. Just be. You know, maybe this is a day where you just want to relax. You need the respite. You need a break from the world. Just be. Just be. Just be. I can do hard things. I got this. I can do hard things. strong and free. I am the earth is me. Maybe this is one of those runs where you're out on the trails and you're just really wanting to connect with Mother Nature. I am the earth is me. Good morning, I love you. A self-compassion statement that is the common phrase of Shauna Shapiro, my former professor and mindfulness expert. Moving on to the breath meditation. So I would say this is kind of like your basic meditation that you can practice in any state, whether you're sitting, walking, or running. And really the idea behind it is that we're not grabbing onto thoughts, we're not grabbing onto feelings, we're just being an observer of our internal state. And any time our mind wanders off, our feelings get distracted, we just come back to the breath. The breath, or our cadence, is our anchor. So you begin running at a gentle pace. You eliminate the use of devices and apps if those things are distracting to you. And you return your attention to your breath, the in and the out, the in and the out. And as your thoughts emerge, you just let them be. They're like clouds. They float into your awareness and then they float away. And at any moment, you just notice them without judgment. And at any moment, you can return your attention to your breath. And then this third one, loving kindness for runners. Loving kindness meditation was not designed for running, but this is my personal adaptation for how to use it for running. This is a self-compassion practice that asks you to extend compassion to yourself and extend compassion to others. And how I use it is when I'm running, if I see another person, whether they're biking, walking, running, in a car, I think in my mind, let's say they are running, may you run strong. May you be healthy. May you be free of self-doubt. May you be filled with loving kindness. Then I turn it to myself, and again, you're just saying this in your head, not out loud. You might have it written on your hand, or you might have it memorized. You might be carrying a little piece of paper to remind yourself. May I run strong. May I be healthy. May I be free of self-doubt. May I be filled with loving kindness. This gives a really nice feeling that can last with you for the day. And it's this practice that really helps you extend a non-judgmental attitude to others and to yourself. It really opens your heart. Body scan meditation. This is a really great mindfulness practice. The body scan was originated as a practice you did laying down, where you're just noticing without judgment all the feelings and sensations in each part of your body. And I'm not going to read this whole thing to you. I'm just going to describe it, but I will send this PowerPoint out to all of you. And if you want to try it, you can read through it and try it out on your own. But basically, you're going to warm up, and then you're going to start out by bringing your attention and your awareness inward, interoception, your inner experience. You're going to bring your awareness first to your toes. What does it feel like as I land on the ground in my toes? What sensations do I have? What feelings does it produce? What do I notice? Is there heaviness? Is there lightness? Is there pain? And then you move on to the arch of your foot and you do the exact same thing. The heel of your foot, the ankle, the calves, the shins, the knees, the hamstrings. You're just checking in with each body part. What are the sensations? What are the feelings? How does it feel in this moment? What is it bringing up for me? I'm not grabbing it with any judgment. I'm not taking it in any personal way. I'm just objectively viewing it and experiencing it and moving along. Your thighs, your hips. You move to your groin and your buttocks, your core, your back, your chest, your shoulders, your fingertips and your palms, your wrists, forearms, elbows, back arms, shoulders, neck, all the way up to your head. You might, in the end, scrunch your face together. Let it relax. Feel all the sensations. And this gets you in touch with your inner experience. It also helps you relax your body. If you did notice any tension in your body, you might actively choose to relax it. If you felt any pain, You can then decide, should I continue on? Is this a moment where I need a mantra? Or if this is actual pain, do I need to stop? You're listening to your body, you're honoring your body and its cues. And then this type of meditation, intention, attention, attitude, and gratitude. These are values that you are going to take with you. And on any run, at any moment in your life, doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're at a stoplight, whether you're moving, whether you're laying down, whether you're interacting with someone. These are things that you can practice at any time. But if you're going to practice it in your run, I say, when you begin your run, you start out with an intention. What do you hope to get out of this experience today? Is there a particular thought that you want to examine? Is there a special relationship that you want to examine? Do you want to just hone in on gratitude? What does it feel like to be experiencing gratitude throughout the run? Maybe you want to sit with grief. It doesn't matter what the intention is. It's just about setting an intention as an anchor point. You allow yourself 5 to 10 minutes to warm up, and then you practice non-judgmental attention to all 5 senses. Kind of like in the body scan. What does it feel like to move? What types of thoughts are popping into my head? What types of feelings am I experiencing? And you just have a curious mind about it all. You're not judging it, you're just curious about it. And at any time, you can return your attention to your breath or your cadence, which roots you in the present moment. Then you choose your attitude. Shauna Shapiro, who I mentioned before, she says, what you practice grows stronger. So choose to be your best self. Challenge yourself to find your inner grit and practice self-compassion. And then finally, take note of the moments of ease and grace, the beauty of nature around you. Find your inner strength to push a little harder, a little longer, and immerse yourself in awe of what you've accomplished, of the vast beauty of the earth and the calm, awake state of mind and body that the run provides. Honor your body and the environment with awe and gratitude. This is a really lovely practice that just actively helps you be mindful in your running and all of life. So that's really it, right? That is mindful running right there. If you want to add a journaling practice to your mindful runs, I highly recommend it. There's a lot of benefits to it. And so I'm going to go over a couple different ways that you can do that. So you can start out with a run thought prompt. That's what I call them. This is basically your intention. You head out on your run, you set your intention to really mull over a particular thought. And these are just examples. Something that made me laugh. Someone I can be myself around is. A particular experience. Maybe last week you had a really uncomfortable conversation with your boss and you want to think it over. You're just going to run with that and you're going to allow yourself to mull over it. And anytime, because you're a mindful runner, you can bring your attention back to your breath if it's too much. Or maybe you schedule on your run, I'm just going to think about it for 10 minutes and then I'm going to let it go. When you get done with your run, you have a journal ready to go and you immediately write down all of your thoughts, unfiltered. That's it. That's the journal practice. Now, if you want to take that one step further, you can do that first step that I just described. You go for a run, you have your intention with your thought that you want to mull over or your memory that you want to mull over. When you get done with the run, you write it down as quick as you can. You avoid being fancy. I get this from Jennifer Heiner, who is a creative writing instructor and writer. And then you put your story away. You come back to it a few days later, maybe after a run when you've thought about it again, maybe not. And then you add in all of the details and you revise your writing. Then you're in a position to rewrite the story from a different perspective. You can write it from a utopic perspective, a dystopic perspective, from the perspective of a loved one, or from the perspective of a stranger. The possibilities are endless. The whole idea is that you take this thing that you've mulled over, that you've thought over, you've written it down, you've gotten out all that you've wanted to express, and now you write it from a new perspective. And this is really a therapeutic process to gain insight into your own mind and life experience and feelings. This type of journaling, the mental health running journal, this is my own take on a really traditional type of journal that a lot of runners keep. So this is maybe like a daily log where you're going to write down where you ran, the time you ran, the distance you ran, any notes that you want to have. So, was it rainy? Was it sunny? Was it really hot? Did you run with a friend? Was there a lot of uphill? What did you eat for breakfast? Did you have a drink the night before? All of these things that maybe impacted your run for the good or for the negative. And this is the piece that I add in. You're also going to record what were your feelings before your run, what were your feelings during the run, and what were your feelings after the run. That's it. And what this turns into is that after you've collected a week's worth of information, a month's worth of information, a year's worth of information, you can go back over and see the patterns. How is your running? How is your diet? How is your sleep? How are these things all impacting your mood? How is your mood impacting your running? And you start to see the correlations and how these things are tied together. And it's just a really lovely record that gives you a lot of insight into yourself. All right, so I am doing this presentation for Los Altos Hills Recreation Department. And so I believe that quite a few of you live in Los Altos Hills. You are so lucky because Los Altos Hills is so beautiful. Nature is at your back door. But most importantly, Los Altos Hills has pathways built in throughout your city. And this picture right here was taken about a year ago over at Burn Preserve. And so you can just see, like, it is so beautiful. But if you didn't know, you can go to Town Hall and purchase a Pathways map for $4. And you can take your runs outside or your walks outside and get to know your community, as well as engage in nature and mindful running all at once. All right, these are my resources, just so you know where I was grabbing information from. Thank you so much for coming today. I've really enjoyed talking about this with you. I'm really passionate about mindful running. Contact me if you have more questions. I'm happy to talk about it more with you. Thank you so much.